Hi there.
Hello.
I'm Red, Artistic Director with Stitched Up Theatre.
And I'm Lola, embroidery artist and workshop leader.
And we thought we'd give you a short introduction about our project, The Unravelling Fantasia of Miss H. Now, we thought we would be up in Yorkshire touring this year, coming to see you all in person, showing you our opera and also delivering some expressive embroidery workshops. But because of the pandemic, we have had to rethink. And what we've done is created an audio play of the opera, and it is ready for you to listen to. You should have the link sent to you on an email, and also a link to some online workshops which Lola has created for you. Now, these are all around the theme of Mary Frances Heaton, her story of her 41-year incarceration in Wakefield Asylum. She was a Yorkshire lass. She was born in Doncaster in 1801 and arrested for a breach of the peace at the age of 37, sent to Doncaster jail that day, and then the next day taken over to Wakefield Asylum and stayed there until she died, which is a really sad story and a horrific story actually. And the reason we know about it is because when she was in there, she stitched her story through samplers, and those samplers are on exhibition at Wakefield Mental Health Museum. We've also been able to get some of her medical records from West Yorkshire Archives, and with both of those resources have written an opera about her story, just trying to imagine who she might have been and what kind of an existence she would have had in there. So taking that idea one step further, we wanted to let you share in the experience of imagining stitching something that is an expression from you, from what you might want to say. And that's what's inspired Lola to do some online workshops to send to you with some activity packs as well. Lola, do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I've created some packs that will be hopefully sent out to you that include everything you need to take part in the workshop series. And like you said, it's really all about finding something that you want to express through embroidery. That's really what we mean when we say expressive embroidery. It's not just about making a pretty picture, which you will also do, but it's about looking a little bit deeper about something that you want to say, something that Mary didn't have the privilege to do at the time, so she had to do leaving in her samplers. So that's what we've really been inspired by here, and we really want to give you the opportunity to tell us something about you and who you are, and learn or practice a really valuable skill of stitching. You don't have to have any experience with embroidery. I will teach a few basic stitches and guide you through everything you need to know. But if you do also have some experience with embroidery, then that's really great too. You can just develop those skills.
Absolutely, there are no limits to how much you can express if you want to. So talk to us a little bit about that, Lola, in terms of the actual stitches that Mary used in her samplers, because she didn't just stitch everything in the same way, did she?
Yeah, of course. When you're embroidering, you can use lots of different stitches. So some will be quite thin, some will be broken up, some will be thicker, some will be more decorative. So if she was trying to say something bold and make a statement, she might use a really thick stitch and go over it lots of times and do it in a dark colour. But if she was maybe telling a love story or an aspect of her life that she looked upon fondly, she might use soft, bright colours and use a different type of stitch. So I will be explaining how that development works, of finding a memory, finding an idea inside, thinking about a word that means a lot to you, and how you then break that down into colour and stitch, and how you express that on your fabric.
And then at the end of it, you will have what you're calling a flag of strength.
Exactly.
Which is the shape of a shield,
yes.
Which was one of the emblems on Mary's, one of Mary's samplers as well, wasn't it?
Yes, I was really inspired by that shape. It really, to me, symbolises strength and protection, and I think we can build ourselves up with our experiences that we've had and be proud of them, and actually to express whatever we've been through or any of our strong opinions through embroidery, through art, through expression. is really something that we all need sometimes, and especially with lockdown, I think a lot of us are searching for ways to connect and express ourselves.
Mary was almost in a lockdown for 41 years, and yeah, this is obviously a way that she found to express herself during her time there. So we hope that you enjoy the audio play and that the story of Mary Frances Heaton inspires your own expressive embroidery.
And we'd really like to see some of your work, so please do send us some of your photos of your finished pieces, as well as your progress. To let us know how you're getting along with the workshop, and you can send those images to info@stitched-up-theatre.com.
Great, thanks Lola.
Thank you.
Take care. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi there, my name is Lola and I'm going to be the workshop leader for our online series of embroidery workshops. We are going to get started today making our flag of strength, but let me first show you a little bit more about what that is. So hopefully you've all received your workshop pack in the post and it should look something like this. Let's take a look at what's inside. Inside your workshop pack you should have the following items: 3 coloured embroidery threads, 1 basic stitches guide, 2 image patches, 1 blank initials patch, 1 blank text patch, some white thread, 2 needles, and your flag. For this you will also need a pair of scissors. Any basic scissors should do. And once we are done making our flag of strength, it should look something like this. So let's get started. Now before we begin, it's important to know that you don't need to have done any embroidery or stitching before in order to complete this series of workshops. But if you have done stitching before, then that's great too. So to get everyone up to speed, we're going to start by learning a few basic stitches that you'll be able to use to create your flag of strength. So let's get started on our basic stitches. What you will need is your basic stitches guide and some of your thread. So what I've decided to do is split my thread into 2 lots of 3. So that way you can save your thread and it will last much longer. So I've got this bit here, and I'm going to take my embroidery needle, which is the bigger one, and I'm going to thread my needle. And then I've also got a knot at the other end of my thread. So we're going to start off with a basic running stitch. So you're going to put your needle up through the first hole on the first row of dots on your guide, and then back down through the second hole. Then back up through the third, and back down through the fourth. And you're going to continue that to the end of the row. So once you've got to the end of the row with the running stitch, you're just going to finish it off by either tying a knot, but I find it easier just to thread your needle back through a few of your stitches like this, and then just cut your thread and it should just stay in there nicely like that. So now we're going to get onto our next stitch, which is going to be a back stitch. So tie a knot at one end of your thread. I always like to do a double knot. And then thread your needle. So with the back stitch, you're going to start on the second dot. So you're going to come through the back into the second dot and go back to the first. then through number 3 and back through number 2. Through my knot, and then you're going to continue going through the knot and the dot in front, and then back through the dot before until you get to the end of the row. So once you've finished your back stitch, it should look something like that, and the back stitch is really great for getting quite a thin solid line. So next we're going to do a stitch called a split stitch. Go up through the first hole, down through the second one. Remember, when you're watching this video, you can always pause it and go back to check what I've been doing if you're going a bit slower than me. Then we're going to go up through the third hole again, and now we're going to go back through this one, and we're going to split through the threads. So sometimes this looks a bit better if you've got thicker thread, and it will be a bit more dramatic. I'm going to go back through 2 bits of the thread. So this gives you a nice straight line as well, but with a little bit more texture. So just continue that all the way along until you get to the end of the line. So onto our 4th stitch now, which is a chain stitch. So this one's a little bit trickier. We are going to take our needle through the first hole, all the way through, and then we're actually going to just put it back through the hole. This time you're not going to pull your thread all the way through, you're just going to pull it to about there. Then you're going to put your needle back up through the second hole. Careful not to pull it tight because you don't want to pull this loop through. And then you're just going to put your needle through that loop that we created coming out of the first hole. Pull it nice and tight, and now it should catch on there nicely. And then you're going to put your needle back through the second hole, like we did with the first one, and create a little loop again. Then we're going to go back up through the third, catch it, and back down. So once you get to the end of your row with your chain stitch, the way you're going to finish this one off is you're just going to put your needle back through the same hole, but instead of going inside the loop, inside the chain, you're just going to go outside of the chain, so that then your stitch just holds that chain down, and then you can just weave in the rest of your thread like you've done before. Trim the end. Then we're going to get on with our next stitch. So let's tie a knot at the end of your thread. And thread your needle. Now this stitch is called stem stitch, and this one is one of my favourites. So you're going to put your needle through the first hole, up from the back, and then you're not going to go into number 2, but you're going to go into number 3 here, and make a long stitch. Then you can pull that stitch down a little bit so that you can see number 2, and you're going to come back up through hole number 2, and then down number 4. Then back up number 3, and down number 5, sorry. up number 5, number 4, and down number 6. You get the idea, all the way till the end. So our next and final stitch is the French knot, which is this little one here, which is great to build up texture if you use a lot of them together, or just to create a nice small circle shape. So you're going to take your needle up through the dot, and then it gets a little bit trickier here. So you're going to hold your thread and under tension, so nice and tight, and wrap 3 times around. Then carefully you're going to put your needle back through the hole like that. I find it easier to sometimes hold on to the thread as you pull the needle through. Then pull it nice and tight, and there you go, you've got another little French knot. And you can experiment with how many times you wrap around the needle on your next dots. So once you've finished your French knots, you don't have lots of nice tight stitches to weave back in through, so you're better off tying a knot. So the way I do this is I just take my needle underneath that big stitch in between the last 2 French knots, take it through, make sure you've got enough thread to just tie a knot through there and pull, and then you can cut it.
So now that we've completed our basic stitches, we can start on our first activity. So you're going to create your first patch for your flag of strength. And for this first patch, I'd like you to think about something that would bring you or somebody you love joy in a time of need. You're going to bring this to life through stitch on your first patch. So I have some examples here to show you.
So for this first patch, I had an image of a dead plant in a pot. So I decided to add some colour to the plant to bring some life there, and also bring some decoration to the pot itself, because I thought that would be really nice if you were giving someone maybe a gift if they were unwell. For this one, a much more simple image but still just as powerful, just 2 hands, and I just added a nice heart to just imagine giving someone some love. And then for the last one, it was an old dirty sofa, and I just thought I'd add some nice colourful cushions to bring a pop of joy and colour and life to the image.
Don't worry too much about making it perfect. This workshop is all about just having fun and playing with colour and stitch. If you find it easier to work from a picture, then you could look at something in your house, in a magazine, on your phone, or even draw something onto your patch and stitch over it. Whatever inspires you or makes it easier for you works, especially if you're new to this, and it's entirely up to you what you create. If you're feeling really stuck for ideas, feel free to go back and pause the video on one of my examples and you can have a go at copying it. You can take your time with this activity. It's great to do while listening to music or chatting, or even as a way to escape for a little while and have some time for yourself.
So you can see here for my first patch, I've just done a really simple little embroidery of some flowers in a vase next to a bed using some French knots. So if you have a similar photo, you can try something like this too.
So let go of any expectations and just have fun with it. And once you're finished with this patch, I'll see you in our next video for our next activity. Good luck, and I'll see you then.